Hi guys, Brian from Boas here. Nose rubbing is a pretty common behavioral issue among captive boa constrictors. Today I want to discuss this behavior and offer some suggestions for how you can deal with it if your boa constrictor has been rubbing its nose. If you're new to the channel, this is the place for information on all aspects of keeping and breeding boa constrictors in captivity. So be sure to subscribe if you want to learn all about these amazing animals. So what prompted me to do this video is I have this Hog Island female, and as you can see her nose is looking a little bit swollen right now, a little bit inflamed. So this animal, I was keeping her in an Animal Plastics 4-foot cage, a plastic cage with a sliding glass front. And at the front of the cage where the glass slides, there's kind of this little plastic frame of the plastic from the front of the cage. And she was kind of pushing her nose against that, and she got into this behavior where she was just habitually kind of rubbing her nose back and forth in the front of the cage. And as you can see, the tip of her nose is kind of swollen because of this behavior. And this isn't all that uncommon to see, especially at this time of year. So this is the end of the winter cooling season. So basically I don't feed my animals for about 2 months. And so they become often a little more active to try to seek out food, and I think that's what happened with this particular female. If you see your animal doing this, basically it's searching for something. If it's doing any kind of repetitive behavior, it's looking for food. Or if it's during the breeding season, often the males will do this kind of behavior if they're not with the female, they're looking for a mate. Or if your animal doesn't have adequate hiding places, it might kind of move around repeatedly looking for it and taking to this behaviors where it rubs its nose. Certain types of cages can make this behavior a little more detrimental. As I mentioned, this animal was in a cage with a sliding glass front where there's a space between the plastic part in the front and the glass, and she was just kind of doing this. I've seen also if people use screening or wire mesh in their cage design, that can be problematic because the boas are drawn to kind of rubbing their snout against that, and it can cause abrasions and injuries. You see with this particular animal, it's not really an abrasion, it's more like a swelling, just because she was just sticking her snout in there. So basically I've removed this animal from the sliding glass front. I've moved her into a big boa tub. One of the reasons I like the big tubs so much for my boas is that they have all smooth surfaces on the inside. There's no rough surfaces or irregular areas that they can get their snout in there. So I find that the animals are much less likely to do this and to injure their snouts when I have them in the big tub. So I basically moved her into a tub. I also changed my substrate. She was on a paper substrate of corrugated cardboard. I moved her into a substrate of coconut husk. And I think the coconut husk will make her feel a little bit more secure because it's got kind of that tactile sensation. And I also added some extra hiding places. So she's got plenty of hiding places, and hopefully that'll make her more content. And so she'll stop doing this rubbing, and the swelling should go down pretty quickly. With this particular animal, I think in a couple, 1 or 2 sheds, she should be back to normal. I also started feeding her again. I think what was causing her to do this was she was just looking for food. But I've given her her first meal about a week ago. And so I think now that I have her back on feed, she'll stop doing this and she'll go back to normal. But if you see your boa doing this, basically it's looking for something, there's something that it needs. So you have to think about changing up your husbandry or your cage environment to give the boa its needs. And then hope, a happy boa isn't going to be moving around very much. It's just basically going to be chilling out, probably chilling out over the hot spot or, coiled in a corner in the hiding place somewhere. This behavior seems to be especially common in certain types of locality boas. I've seen it in my hogs quite a bit. I had a male that ended up having the same thing happen, and I moved him into a tub, and he's doing better now. But it seems like maybe the more active ones are just more likely to be prone to this rubbing behavior and to get these nose swellings and nose lesions. So in a case like this where it's relatively mild and there's no broken skin, it should be fine and it should heal up okay. Often there'll be a situation where a boa has an abrasion or injury to its snout from doing this, and it can get infected, and you can lead to a condition called stomatitis, also known as mouth rot, where basically you have a bacterial infection in the mouth, and if left untreated, there's going to develop this kind of cheesy substance in the mouth, and the boa won't be able to close its mouth all the way because of the infection. Boas at this point, typically you can see their mouth is partially open, and you can hear like a breathing through the mouth. And if it's gone this far, it's really hard to treat. So if you have any signs of infection, I highly recommend you get your boa to a veterinarian for treatment. So they'll need antibiotics, and possibly they'll need to have their mouth rinsed out with a disinfecting solution to treat the mouth rot. But luckily, this particular animal hasn't progressed to that severity, so she should be fine in the new housing, in the new cage, after a few sheds. I hope this video is helpful if you have any animals that have shown this behavior. As always, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to me. Thanks for watching, and enjoy your boas.